Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan with Sync 57 Sports, and this is the Sync 57 Sports Show. One thing is for certain is that we are uncertain about who the good football teams are this year in the NFL. I know. Okay, somebody's listening right now and going, dude, the Steelers are undefeated. Well, I think a lot of people, number one, are going to ask you about their overall schedule. And number two, here's the main thing about any of this anyways, because we've seen this before, right? We've seen teams go, 15-1, 13-3. I mean, come on, didn't Baltimore have a dominating season last year and then lose in the first round of the playoffs? The fact of the matter is this. We don't really know who the good teams are going to be, and we don't know how the virus is going to continue to impact the NFL. That's just the real reality of it. Right? It's all about your preparation right now, because every team has the fairness in terms of how they're going to prepare, because everything is a walkthrough. Everything else is done, from home, just like a lot of Americans right now. Everything else is done so much differently than the way that they're used to doing it. Part of the reason why we've seen everybody get nicked by this injury thing that's been going on in the NFL, right? You're not used to getting the contact. Your body's not used to taking it. And then all of a sudden, you've got to go full speed, Mach 10 in a real live game. Of course, it's going to take a while for your body to get to it. And I've always been a big believer in stretching does a lot for that. But, at this juncture, who the hell really knows? And here's another reason why we're not certain and how the virus is continuously affecting, these teams. And that is whether or not you're able to prepare for a game of football and accurately assess yourself as to the kind of work you put in. It was Tom Brady who said that he was going to stop playing when he got tired of the preparation. One time I interviewed Coach Howard Schnellenberger, right? The head coach that led the Miami Hurricanes to their first ever title, started a dynasty that went on for literally decades. Right? You know what he told me? The team that's most prepared wins. So I'm willing to compliment the Pittsburgh Steelers on being prepared, because Roethlisberger wasn't even allowed to practice, right? Wasn't that the deal? He couldn't even practice this week. And then he ends up being able to, play and all those kinds of things. What do you think he did with that time? He prepared. We're seeing preparation in the middle of a game take shape, right? Look at the adjustments the Colts made against the Tennessee Titans on Thursday night. Look at the adjustments that the New England Patriots made to Lamar Jackson. It showed beforehand. We don't really know who the good teams are this year, and we don't even know what's going to happen, because games are probably going to get postponed. As the season goes along, they're probably going to just get flat out canceled. And when you look at the playoffs, you have to wonder how it's going to handle preparation. Is the game going to get postponed in the playoffs? Is that going to give somebody an extra 2 weeks to prepare for another somebody else? I mean, what's going to happen with that? We logically could not see a Super Bowl this year until March or April. What if the Super Bowl itself gets postponed due to the coronavirus? And look, like so many people, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of hearing about it, but it's something that you can't necessarily get away from. And while on the surface, it may look like, hey, I'm just talking about COVID-19, the reality of it is I'm actually talking about preparation. The teams that prepare the best are going to be the ones that win. And we don't have that inside track right now to who the teams are that are the most prepared until we actually watch the games themselves. And then it becomes generally pretty evident, doesn't it? Sure, we've seen some great comebacks. But when you look at some of the teams that have made comebacks and you look at the teams that they've made those comebacks against, how good are they? Right? The Broncos had that comeback against the Chargers, but how good are both of those teams this year? Ill prepared, for one. Number two, they're, especially the Broncos, they're very young. People are talking about the streak that the Raiders are on right now. Okay. How well did they play against Denver, though? Didn't they force 4 interceptions? 3 of them, Drew Lock alone? And yet, how many points did they score? That's the thing. They should have really won that game like 40-0. So how good are the Raiders truly? You might go, well, it's a division rival. They know each other a little bit better. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. When you have a turnover margin that's like that, you're supposed to win by a bigger margin. You know, we all, well, not all, but a lot of people think that Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's had a couple of bad games. Look at some of the throws he's missed. Guy's wide open, man. I saw some missed throws against Carolina. How good are they? What are they, 3-7 now after that loss? We don't know who the good teams are. We expect the Patriots to be good. They're not. We expect Tampa Bay to be good because Tom Brady's there now. They're okay on offense. The numbers are telling you something different than what's really going on there. You know, the fact of the matter is we don't know. And from day to day, nobody knows what's going to happen. We rely on somebody like Tom Brady to think that they're automatically going to be good because we do know about his preparation. And there's not a single guy on that team that won't tell you that Tom Brady doesn't prepare for a game of football like it's the last one of his life every time. That's what leadership is. I think it was a little easier for Belichick and the Patriots to get ready because they've got a quarterback now that has a lot of the same skill sets as Lamar Jackson. It's a similar style of offense. Look at the miraculous play that happened with the Arizona Cardinals and D-Hop. Look, I'm not taking anything away from that catch, but let's be honest. Does that one play determine how good the Cardinals are going into the rest of the season? What about the Seahawks? Started off good. Titans started off good. They've kind of fallen by the wayside. So some of it is typical NFL behavior, right? You get a team that starts off really good, and then as the season goes along, you go, eh. You get a team that starts off that's like, eh, and then as the season goes along, oh, okay. They're finding each other now. They're getting better as every game goes. You know, what have we been talking about with Brady and the Bucs? The continuity. That's with every team in the NFL. The locker room is so important. And I've been preaching that for years. It is amazing to me how it is such a lost thing. That's why I questioned whether or not AB was going to work with the Raiders when he initially went there or not. That's why I questioned whether or not he was going to work with Odell Beckham Jr. and the Cleveland Browns, whether it was going to work there or not. Everybody's so hung up on all the ideas of a system. That's like third. It's what goes on in the locker room, the camaraderie in there. If guys want to play together, they'll play together. If there's any kind of dissension in that locker room at all, it's going to raise some problems. But that camaraderie, you're going to have to do it differently now, right? You have to do FaceTime with each other. You're not going to see each other in practice as much and go, hey, man, you want to go grab a beer or, go watch some film together, da-da-da-da-da. It's going to have to be, hey, man, let's go home. I'm going to, crack open a bottle of water or a beer or whatever the hell, and let's do some film study. Let's FaceTime this film study, man. Let's get all the receivers on. With you, the quarterback, let's do that. Let's break some stuff down from another game. That's what it's going to take right now. You have to be willing to figure out ways and put in the extra time. If you don't, you will lose. And the virus has hit Tennessee hard. But at this point in the NFL season, I don't think there's any team with excuse, to be perfectly honest with you. It is fair, as I stated earlier, how the NFL is doing it. And that is just all there is to it. But that still doesn't mean that we know who the good teams are beforehand, because we don't know how everybody's prepping. It just shows in the game itself when it happens. How many times have we seen a less talented football team beat a more talented football team, i.e. the New York Giants beating the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl? The first one, I will be willing to give you a pass on because, to a lot of people that catch is questionable. Fine. But the rest of it, the other Super Bowl, no. One team was more prepared, and it showed. Period. They were ready. Eli Manning was ready. When the game was on the line, he was ready, and that's all there is to it, guys. It's all preparation this year. Every ounce of it. There's no disregarding it whatsoever. And all that is going to carry over into the other aspects that I talked about, building the camaraderie somehow. All right, I'm preparing for ways that I can continue to build relationships with my teammates. That's what's going to stand out as the season goes along. And it will be obvious game to game, the teams that have done that. Sometimes we'll get two teams that are truly prepared. After that, yes, the coaching, the system, the overall talent of a team will probably take over at that point. But the first thing is going to be prep. I'm Drew Duncan for Sync 57. This was the Sync 57 Sports Show. Don't you dare touch that dial.